So I'm back with a bit of help for you guys today. I'm going to help you DIYers get some ideas in your head on costings for a garden. This is my brother's garden. He's looking to get it done at the moment, so I thought it was a perfect example for me to use his garden as a backdrop and give you some ideas. Well, first of all, I got to measure up first with my Moja 1, I should say. I'm going to measure up first so I get myself square meterage, and I'm going to help you guys out realize what you need to get for the job. And I'm going to use Bradstone Garden Virtualizer, where I can take a photo of what's behind me and I can project an image onto the photo of your paving of choice. So that's going to be a good thing for you to look at. Bradstone, and they also they've got their own installers, so you can go onto their website and you can find an installer to do the work as well. But this is basically to give you guys heads up on what's to come for your garden. Right, first of all, let's get the Moja 1 out and do some measuring. Come back on screen now. So this is the shape of what it's actually drawn out. So it is an area of 57.78 square meters. So that's the first thing we need to know. My price would be, for 60 square meters, would be around £200 a square meter. So I don't really have to get the calculator out for this, but why not? All right, we'll do the 57 times £200 per square meter, and this would be the taking out of all the material which is there, putting the material back in, everything included, including labour and grouting. So you would be looking at £11,400 for this area here, up to the corner of the little garage there and across. So if you can virtualise that area for your garden, say your garden is pretty much that, about 60 square meters. Now you know a good idea on what it's going to cost, and you've got a good idea of what it's actually going to look like. So a couple of the basic rules is be in charge yourself as much as possible. You will have to work with a contractor, obviously, and just be more in control. You have to be in control of your garden, because if you're about to spend £11,400 on something, you want it exactly the way you want it. So you can prepare yourself, you can take some photos, you can use the app, you can project what you're going to get. Ding dong, the guy comes round, you know what the square meterage is, even if you don't have a Moja yourself. If it's 10 meters that way by 5 meters that way, it's 50 square meters. And surely you should be able to know how to use a tape measure. Just draw out the garden layout of what you've got, take your measurements, add to the paperwork and calculate it, the square meters, and then you know your price range. Because there's nothing worse than coming around, it's like 50 square meters to actually do something, and it's going to cost you 10 grand, and you only think it's going to cost you 5 grand. Well, obviously that's not going to happen. So be prepared, get some knowledge in there first. My base rate is £200 a square meter. Supply everything, right down to the brushing off to finish and clean up. Blah, 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 blah. So let me just go through something. This is going to be a common thing in this corner. Where do you run your levels? Which way do you slope it? I get so many emails and so many WhatsApp messages, people showing me pictures of their garden. Which way do I slope it? Which way do I do this and that? Well, first of all, the back of the house, it's always level. You always go level across that way. Preferably 150 mil down from the DPC height, which is 2 visible bricks. You can put an eco drain along up to DPC height. That's fine. People like to do that if they got bifold doors and they can just walk out and it's all pretty much one level. That is fine. But if you're not having an eco channel up against the house, which in this instance you wouldn't want to, because it slopes towards the garden, and then that's your water runoff. But let me explain. So the back of the house here, always flat. Right, this section down here, because we're in a bit of an area where it's boxed in, so you will have to run it this way. So this will come down and be lower than this point here. Then you would need an eco drain along here, because otherwise the water's going to get trapped. So this would have to be level as well across here. So we got to this point now. This is where angles change a bit again. So for the majority of the garden coming this way, run off into the garden. That's fine. So you've got your eco coming along here, which will remain level. Everything parallel to the house is always level. So you come to this point, and you keep the same height as your eco drain coming down here. You keep that level as well, but you just tilt these tiles here slightly that way. So anything lands on here can run off. So for example, here it runs this way, and then everything from up against the back of the house runs this way, which is fine. Some occasions the garden might be higher that end and you have to slope it towards the house, which is still fine. In my eye, it isn't preferable. I always like to let the water go that way. But if so, that's cool. You have to put an eco channel against the house, and you can connect it up. There's a gully over by here. Let me move this over. You can see the gully there. So you can tap into that with your eco, and the water then can disperse into there. But everything along the back of the house is always level. Same for that piece across there, level. That piece down there, level. And just slope it this direction. That is always something which stresses some people out. Where do I let the water go to? Away from the house preferably, but if you've got to do that way, that's fine. Just use Eco. We don't have to use Eco itself, because that is the name of a brand. It's basically drainage, directing the water. So that's always something people ask me. So unfortunately, when I tried to take that photo this way to project an image, it wouldn't actually allow me to do it on the grass bit. It would only actually allow me to do it on the concrete bit. So we'll take another photo now this direction. I'm going to use the Bradstone app again to use the virtualizer to see what it would look like with whatever materials you want to use. Right, let's take a photo. So that's kind of nice. Right, let's go for, I quite like these. This looks nice. There we go, happy days. So you as a customer, you can do this yourself before the landscaper turns up to give you ideas. You can actually tell him, which is better in the long run, because then you're all on the same line. So that's handy. So I can rotate this as well. I can do it so the lines are going the other way, but you wouldn't want to do that, because that would just make it look a bit strange. You'd want it to go across. So we'll choose one more. We're going to go for a bit of copper. Everybody loves a bit of copper. There we go, nice. Go to the Bradstone website and look at their virtualizer. Download it, get yourself an idea. And whilst you're there, you can actually go and find yourself a Bradstone installer to do the job for you. They're all across the country, so I'm sure there'll be somebody there in your area which could sort you out. So the next bit now you really need to know is how much of a fall should you have for the water to run off. Right, let's take a quick measurement of what's actually here so far. Okay. Can't take measure, get back in, you bastard. Right, 2.4 meters off the house. So we're going to go 2.4 divides then by 0.6. So every meter out is down 6 millimeters. So we're going to divide this by 0.6 equals 4. So this here is 4 centimeters lower than here. So that's your 4. That's what you're actually looking for. So that's a guide to go for. It can be between 0.6, 0.7, 0.8. Lots of people are always saying these different measurements, but go with that for now. Or the other way you can do it, when you see the spirit level like this, when it's level, when it's slightly out of level, on it you'll see 2 lines on the bubble. Make sure the bubble is just past the line, and then that's a good indication of you're in the right direction. Or you can go with the ratio of 0.6 or 0.7 or 0.8. Don't hold me by it, but this is what people say on some of these Facebook forums when people ask about what the angle of the dangle should be. There's another thing as well, depending on what substrate you've got. If you've got clay or you've got earth, obviously it's harder for water to go through clay, so you could end up with puddles somewhere. So for instance, say the patio finishes about here from the house, what you'd need to do is something called a soakaway, which would basically be the patio finish here. You want an eco drain to go right the way across to collect all the water which comes this way. Then you want to direct it into a pipe, come in this direction, and then you want to dig a big hole in the ground. It's called a soakaway. You can buy them from Travis Perkins. They're about 1 meter long, 500 wide, 500 deep. You could buy 4 of those, dig a hole in the garden, sink it into the ground, and I'll see if I can put a picture up on the screen in the corner for there somewhere. And basically it's like a hollow chamber. So any of the water which lands here goes into an eco drain here, so all our water's connected into a 90-degree pipe here, come in this direction into a big soakaway void in the garden. Then it should stop the sogginess of your grass if you have to direct it to the house and you have clay where it can't sink into the ground. So yeah, dig a big hole, stick a void in it, fill it up with water. But if you haven't got clay and it's decent ground, just stick a shovel in the ground and just dig a little hole, see what it's like. If you've got decent soil, don't worry about it. Just let the water land on here. Don't worry about the eco, just let it go straight into the grass and soak away. That's fine. I've done it for years like that, never had a problem. And then it comes down to product. What type of product? You've got a couple of ideas. You can either have concrete, where it looks boring and bland, or you can have natural stone, which is nice, it doesn't come in many colours, or you can have porcelain, which you can have all colours of the bloody rainbow. I like both of them. I do like natural stone because I like the marbling, especially when it's wet. It looks really creative. Then I also like the porcelain because you can have patterns, you can have different colours. So depending on your garden, if you had loads of trees right around your garden, I would say no, don't use sandstone, because the algae will come off the tree, stick to the sandstone, and you're going to be forever cleaning it. But if you've got a decent pressure washer, then that's absolutely fine. The pressure washer will blast it off. Don't let it sink in though. You have to keep on top of these things. Even if you had porcelain, it'll still get dirty. The algae won't sink into it. Not straight away, but it will. It definitely will, which I have learnt. It will sink into it. But everything gets dirty on the outside, so you always have to clean it. You can seal it as well, which is always a great help, because that saves it from getting dirtier quicker. So that's a bonus. But sand or porcelain, for concrete, that stuff's rubbish. Depends on the house. If you've got an old looking house, like a cottagey type thing, you don't want anything too contemporary. You want to go with natural products because it blends with the house. The products you actually choose depends what your house looks like, in my eye. So yeah, have a think about that. Sandstone's nice, does get dirty much quicker. Porcelain's nice, doesn't get as dirty, but still will get dirty. But you got lots more colour to choose from. Try add a border around the outside of the perimeter of whatever you're doing. It's like a picture. Oh, a picture always looks better in a frame. So say you were going for like a light creamy-ish colour here for the main part of the garden behind me, then put a dark border around the edge, because that'll just highlight what's in the middle that bit more. So yeah, go for a border. Like I said, picture always looks better in a frame. That's pretty much it. This is just me having a chat. I'm not sticking anything down. I'm just giving you guys a heads up idea on what to expect. Hopefully it's been educational and you learned something from it. And I'm actually possibly going to do a membership thing, and where you can contact me easier back and forth and I can help you better, but you're gonna have to become a member for that, because I've been helping people out for years and I'm getting phone calls in the middle of the morning, sometimes in the evening when I'm doing things, and I don't have time all the time to answer people. But if you're a member, I'll go out my way to make sure I give you everything you need. So members, join the Tidy Bricks. I might even do some merch. Testing testicles or blah, blah, blah. You decide.